Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into episode 16 of Out of the Parx. I'm Mark Feldman, in for Sam Stafford this week. Sam's on vacation. Sam, we hope you're having a good time down the shore. She'll be back next week, but joined as always by Maniac Malloy and John Marks. Fellas, how we doing on this all-star break Out of the Parx edition?
Wow, all-star break. Mark's in the steering chair, and Sam's on vacation, but so is John. We're cutting into his drinking time, so this is going to have to be a short episode.
No,
what do you got
not
over
drinking
there,
into
Johnny?
You're not cutting into my drinking time. You're cutting into my beach time. But
yeah, because that means you're drinking now.
So listen, this is my first one. All right.
What time is it?
11 o'clock.
11:03.
Well, it's late.
11:01.
It's late. This is the first day I've had to wait till 11 o'clock to drink. I'm not drinking by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm
Okay.
I'm
All
a
right, so it's gonna be a fun one.
drinker. Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Excited to be here. We're actually going to change up the show a little bit because we have a very special guest. Excited to welcome to the Out of the Parx family. She is an on-air talent and digital host for KDK Radio 100.1 FM, Steelers Pro Shop live host, and a member of the first all-female broadcast team in professional baseball.
Wow.
You welcome, I welcome. Welcome to Out of the Parx, the one, the only Suzie Cool. Suzie, welcome to the show. And how you doing today?
Suzie,
Good.
all the way from
What an
Pittsburgh.
intro. Wow.
Yeah, seriously, I feel like I didn't earn that, but thank you so
You
much.
did.
You deserve it and earned that intro.
He's a Hall of Famer, I think. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. My face is somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's all over the place. You're doing a lot of good stuff for the Steelers, for KDKA Radio. Suzie, you're on the program. We need a Pittsburgh correspondent. You know, Paul Skeens, it was the talk of the town last night at the All-Star game. The Phillies are going to be headed out to PNC Park for a 3-game series with the Pirates. Suzie, first off, what did you think of Paul Skeens last night in the All-Star game? He looked pretty electric.
Yes, he just went out and did Paul Skeens type of things. The thing that I actually was shocked by was the fact that he walked Juan Soto. Now, Juan Soto is an incredible player. I actually have called games that Juan Soto has played in the minor leagues. Like he's a really young guy, right? So the fact that he walked him, and Paul Skeens has 12 or 13 walks on the season through his first 12 starts. Like that actually blew my mind. And then I'm
the pitch itself last night I was watching. Did you see it, Mark? It looked like it actually hit the strike zone and it was like a cross up with the catcher.
It was a bad
and
call.
He tested him with the 100-mile, on your knuckles fastball. So Soto kind of got a little bit lucky right there. He got bailed out.
I think in the back of my mind too, I'm like, see Paul Skeens go against Aaron Judge.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a cheapo move putting Steven Kwan in the leadoff spot. And I know everybody in the world wanted to see Gunnar Henderson, Soto, and Judge, and they go and they put Steven Kwan in the leadoff spot.
We got it anyway, though.
We got what we wanted. So I mean, he's just been unbelievable for you guys. I mean, what is the buzz like in Pittsburgh around Paul? It's got to be just Skeens all day, every day.
It's really refreshing because the last time I can remember Pittsburgh being this excited about Pirates team was circa 2014 to 2016. Whenever, the last time they really made a buzz was that Johnny Cueto game where everybody was screaming and it was a blackout at PNC Park. And they made Cueto so upset that he drops the ball on the mound. This is what this feels like, right? However, you can tell that fans want Bob Nutting to start to buy into the team, really. What moves is he going to make before the trade deadline on July 30th? However, Paul Skeens, whenever he starts, it's really cool to see this city come together. Never, other than for playoffs, back whenever that was, never have I seen a line outside of PNC Park like we do when Paul Skeens is starting. Like, the lines are ridiculous. I'm not sure if Paul is starting on Saturday, and I don't know if it's just the match. He's starting on Sunday. Okay, so maybe it's the Wiz Khalifa bobblehead on Saturday. But if you've looked at, I know. I'm actually going to the game on Saturday. I'm really pumped. But if you look at the ticket prices for this weekend series, it could just be because of the series against the Phillies and how well they're doing. But also the fact that Paul Skeens has brought so much hype. Like, some tickets are $150 for just like a normal seat that would be like $24 like it was 2 weeks ago whenever I went on a Sunday.
It's Skeen fever. Skeen's fever there, Marksy. What do you think of this guy, Paul Skeen?
Well, it's a once in a generation type pitcher, and that's across Major League Baseball. So when you're a team that gets a pitcher like this, man, you just hope that you're able to protect them. And we saw what happened with the no-hitter the other night, and people went crazy because they took him out. But you're protecting essentially your franchise. You only get a player like this when you're lucky enough to be able to draft him, to be high enough in the draft, and he's there for you. But he is a once-in-a-generation type pitcher. And I feel it, Pat. We were talking about this before. We could feel the excitement all the way in Philly when he was making his starts. And if you're a baseball fan like we are, you got to love to see this. This is a Hall of Fame type player, if he can stay healthy, that you're seeing the beginning of his career. And he's so good to start, too. I mean, you can see it. He knows how to pitch. He's got the stuff. And you saw it last night as well. So I'm excited. I guess my question to you as somebody that covers the team on a daily basis, like, what's he like? Because he's obviously got the celebrity girlfriend. He's a huge celebrity. What is he like to cover? What's his personality like? What's it been like so far just with the dude? What type of a dude is he?
What you see is what you get. I don't know. I'm sure you're all familiar with him being on the Dan Patrick Show this past week and learning how he was starting, coming from Tori Lavello, calling into the show. That just like humble, simple reaction is who Paul Skeens is, because this is his life. And who we've actually compared him to in the city is Sidney Crosby, right? Like Sidney Crosby. Yes. Like that is who we are comparing this guy to, because he is just so calm. He knows that this is his life. This is his job, and he takes it very seriously. And while there is a lot of hype about what he's doing and how good he is, he's just showing up every day, doing his job, and he just wants to continue to get better. So it's just a very, very humble person. And if you watch the Dan Patrick Show, the best part about him being on there was the fact that he stayed on for like an extra 2 or 3 minutes because he thought that they weren't done yet. And then Dan Patrick was like, "Paul, what are you waiting for?" And Paul's like, "Oh, I was just like wondering if you're going to ask me another question or something." And it was just so sweet. But like, he still had that much respect that he stayed on in the case that they needed him again. So that's the kind of demeanor that he has.
I love watching him warm up. He's throwing the football around. I mean, he's still got like acne on his face. How old is this guy? He's like
22?
22.
He's 22 years old. I mean, and he's throwing the ball 100 and, what is he like? Hit sometimes 104 miles an hour. Like, is his arm going to get stronger? Is he going to like fill out even more? Like, how hard can this guy throw? I mean, I'm looking at it last night, and Suzie, I know you are a gambling woman.
Yes.
We're going to get to see him up close and personal this weekend. Currently, it seems outrageous to me. Plus 500 on Paul Skeens to win the NL Cy Young Award. Suzie, is Paul Skeens going to be the Cy Young Award winner this year?
If he continues to do what he's doing, I don't see how he couldn't, especially in his rookie season. I mean, I don't know who else could even compare to him right now and make this much noise in the second half, right? And again, it's just a small sample size. It's just 12 games. It's just the start of what we're seeing for Paul Skeens. So you don't even know what's going to come in the second half from him. And I can only imagine it's only going to get better from here on out, especially with how close the Pirates could be to a potential playoff push. So whenever you have those eyes on you and, he's doing what he's doing, I could see that being a huge possibility for Paul Skeens, especially too, you have to think like he was the first Pirates rookie in I think like 50 years to, I think, make an all-star game or something crazy like that. And then or first Pirates pitcher to start an all-star game in like 50 years. And then he's one of 5 rookies in all of Major League Baseball to start an all-star game. So I don't know. Like, I think he's definitely a front runner for it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm taking it.
When we were talking about, you were talking about his demeanor. We have Aaron Nola here in Philly, who, guys, like he doesn't
negative on Nola. John is
okay. I've been negative on Nola a little bit, but like one of the great things about Aaron Nola is you don't know if they're winning or losing. You don't know if he's had a good outing or he's had a bad outing. He is just so consistently, and I know Skeens has more personality than that, but they both went to LSU, and it's like sometimes in a starting pitcher, you need that guy that just has that zzz, as opposed to being so high up and so high down. So I wonder if
Mhm.
going to LSU and being from, I don't know if he's from Louisiana, but they do kind of have that similar, very down to earth personality about them.
You know what? I
Mhm.
never even thought about that connection, the LSU connection between Nola and Skeens.
No, it's a good pull there by John.
Mhm.
That's a good
yeah.
pull. But you were
I
going to
think
say something, Mark.
No, go ahead, Susie.
I was just gonna say, I think that demeanor kind of comes from being at the Air Force Academy.
Oh, that's right. This guy
Oh,
was
yeah,
flying fighter
and
jets
and
before he
and
decided to
so
come.
I also think the crazy thing about Paul Skeens, I'm not sure like how much background you guys really know, is he actually went into college as a catcher and like a designated hitter. So
Yeah, like
this
he
is
could hit in
and
college. I've
yes,
seen him
and
dropping
he
nukes.
hit like it was like over 400 or something crazy. And then he was actually a relief pitcher and asked his coach like, "Hey, can I try and start a game?" And that's how he got into the starting role.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is like it's almost, and I'm sure he probably started whenever he was in high school or something. I'm sure he dabbled with them, but in college that was not his intention to be a starting pitcher, let alone in Major League Baseball. So it's probably also just like the demeanor coming from the Air Force, but also knowing like, hey, I'm kind of still new at this. Like, how do I navigate this?
I feel like if he was pitching in Philadelphia, we would just have our hearts in our throat. Like every
I don't know if
time
we
that
could
guy.
handle it.
Yeah,
Can
I
we
don't think
handle
we
it,
could
guys?
handle it because, like, I mean, do you feel like that at all when he goes out there? Just seeing him do stuff that you've never seen before, throwing so hard. Like, I would just be like holding my breath that he doesn't, get a blister or something. Like,
Kind of
just
blister.
uh
I don't
does
know.
he feel like that? What is it really like? I mean, people are just getting jazzed over Paul Skeens, I
Yeah,
guess.
I
Is
think
there
that's
any
what it
feeling of
is.
that?
No, I don't think there's any feeling of nervousness because he goes out there so confident every single time. And there have been multiple games where, if you read an article afterwards, him or Grandal, whoever's catching him, is like, actually, Paul's stuff was not working for the first like 2 or 3 innings. And then all of a sudden, 4 through 6, he adjusted. And when you actually look at his pitch count, his later innings sometimes are only have like 6, 7, 9 pitches, as to opposed to the first 3 innings where he's going through a lineup and he's trying to adjust. However, because he's so good and because he's still getting the outs, we don't
He's
notice what he's
overpowering.
struggling with. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Roy
just
Halladay
overpowering
did that
stuff.
too. Sometimes the best time to get Halladay would be early
Right.
when he's
Mhm.
still kind of getting into a groove. And then once he settles in 4, 5, 6, good luck. He
Yes.
just starts mowing them
Well,
down.
and that was what happened in Milwaukee last week. I mean, he goes out for what, the 7th inning, and he throws 7 pitches, and that was why everybody was so upset when he got taken out, because he was starting to do better as he got further in the game. But what nobody knew was that was actually the most tired his team had ever seen him.
Right.
And that was why they decided to take him out, because they knew if they risked putting him out there for those last 2 innings, like, he was not going to do nearly as good as he did the rest of the game. So don't risk it.
Yeah.
Well, he can't pitch every game, but he would be pretty deadly in a series. You get to see him 2 times, and then that
Make the playoffs. No
that
doubt.
is a dangerous situation. Even in a one game, a scary team with him on the mound. They're currently in the mix. Game and a half back of an NL wildcard spot. Pittsburgh Pirates are currently plus 500 to make the playoffs. Suzie,
On the BetParx app?
On the BetParx app, are you taking the
Wow.
Buccos to make it back to the post?
I would love to say yes. I want to say yes, but they have to figure out, there's a couple of things that they have to figure out coming out of the All-Star break. One is going to be their starting pitching, because before
A lot
All-Star
of
break,
injuries.
yes, Jared Jones, Bailey Falter. Jared Jones obviously was right behind Paul Skeens. Then you have Mitch Keller, which he's been doing great this season. Martin Perez is now back. However, Bailey Falter was in that 5th spot. And I know you guys were like chuckling because Bailey Falter was in the Philly system. However, he's done really well with the Pirates this season, aside from that first start of the year. So I still feel like they need him in the mix. If he's not in the mix, I don't know who that 5th guy is in the rotation. On top of that, the Pirates need to figure out their hitting. There is just zero consistency. And you made the joke, I wish Paul Skeens could start every day. I do too, not just because Paul Skeens is a good pitcher, but it seems like the lineup actually gets hits whenever he's pitching. They're in the double digits, whereas every other night they're averaging, I think it's like 6 hits a game. And sometimes that's just not doable for a team. So I want to say yes, but unless they get that 5th spot figured out before these injuries, I guess get better, whatever it is, and they figure out that hitting, then their chances might be low. I don't want to see them struggling. And the reason why they're at 500 going into the All-Star break realistically is because they played the Chicago White Sox their last series.
There you go.
So
So how much are you putting on it at plus 500?
Oh goodness,
$5?
Patty.
$10?
That's $100. That's $100.
Okay.
Maniac.
I'm putting-
$100 is good.
100.
100. Oh goodness, I'll put 20.
So,
20.
Susie, to your
Epic.
point, especially with where the Pirates are right now, and the excitement's palpable among fans, right? So, yeah, like this is where management and ownership needs to say, hey,
Yep.
let's make a move, let's make a splash, because you go from having a hot ticket to a sizzling hot ticket to where I'm sure this weekend it's going to be really fun because there's going to be Pirates fans that are jacked up because they have a good team. And Phillies fans are going to travel down the turnpike and it's a great stadium to go to and everything else. But this is an opportunity for Pirates fans and for the Pirates, especially for going in the next season. Go make a big freaking move at the trade deadline and get some excitement about your team. I don't like the Steelers. I respect Steelers fans, but there's a cross-state rivalry with that because the Steelers are so good, right? And they're good every year. The Pirates haven't really been good since I was a kid in the 90s, right? So I feel bad for Pirates fans that they haven't had good baseball. This is an opportunity for Pirates ownership and management to actually say, hey, let's go for it. And then you bet $100 and you win a lot of money and we're all happy.
Yeah. So, and that's something that I've talked about every single weekend now is what moves do the Pirates make? And about a month ago, there was a lot of reason to get rid of somebody like Rowdy Tellez at first base. However, he's actually been hitting pretty well for the last month. Now, how is he going to fare whenever he gets back from the All-Star break? I'm not really sure. I think the Pirates can do better in a first baseman than Rowdy Tellez? 100%. And then I think another area where they're kind of weak throughout their lineup is an outfielder. Other than Brian Reynolds, who obviously it was like a 25-game hit streak, they don't really have anybody else that sticks out in my mind. And if I watch Jack Suwinski go out there time and time again and either strike out or miss a fly ball that he should get, I'm going to go nuts, okay? Like, I'm just going to call it what it is. But at the same time, what we've been talking about is the National League wildcard race is so close. So what team is really going to be willing to give up their players in their lineup unless you have an absolute need that they need and they have what you need in return.
Right.
So I don't know what moves they make. And on top of that, Bob Nutting, he came out probably a month ago now where he said he was going to make these moves and he got everybody excited. However, it's been completely silent since then. So everybody's either thinking there's going to be a huge move made and it's going to be right at the last second, or he's just going to hope that Jack Suwinski and Rowdy Tellez pan out.
So you mentioned you're going to be there on Saturday at PNC Park for this big series, Phillies Pirates. The Phillies obviously are the best team in baseball, best team in the National League, leading their division by a lot. As a Pirates fan, what are you looking to see from the Pirates as they face the best team in baseball? What kind of things will you see that maybe will let you know, oh, the Pirates are for real in the second half and can make a run at the playoffs?
I think it's going to be what I mentioned before, that consistency in batting. If you're going to go against the best team in baseball, like, you have to show that your lineup can match up against the best team in baseball, right? I have no doubts in our starting pitching other than the 2 spots that we're needing to fill right now. But the hitting is what has me concerned. Now, if our starting pitching does not do well against the Phillies and then we have to then go into our bullpen, that's another story too, which makes me a little bit nervous, especially with those 2 spots that need filled in our starting rotation right now. There's a lot of spot starts going on. There's a lot of guys from the bullpen that have to make up those bulk middle innings. So that has me a little bit fearful as well. So to show me that these guys can actually contend in the postseason, you have to actually go out and get hits. However, if you think back to what they played in April, the Pirates,
Did they split?
Yeah. So they can contend with the Phillies. However, was that so early on, and were they just coming off of their hot spring training, or are they actually able to contend?
Yeah, we laughed earlier at Bailey Falter. I think Maniac Malloy and we bet against Bailey Falter
Whenever he
that
pitches
series.
for you guys, we bet the other
and
side.
it was a revenge
PTSD.
game for Bailey Falter. So
It's not just the Pirates. I've done it wherever he's gone in the past.
He's only went
But-
to the Pirates, right?
Well,
he
wait.
was a Red, wasn't he?
No, you know what that means though? I must have been betting him when he actually was pitching for the Phillies.
That's what it was, against them.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what it was.
Yeah.
When he started to get so bad. Yeah.
It's going to be a good series. I know you got to go soon, but one more question for you. What are your thoughts now in his 4th season? O'Neal Cruz, you mentioned you want to see hitting. Is he a guy that's part of the future? And is he a guy that you really think can carry this team in the second half?
I do think that he is a part of the future, but he's again one of those people that has been spotty all season. It's like Hayes has also been a little bit spotty. They come and go in waves, right? O'Neal Cruz, he's just, first of all, he's an animal. He's 6'7" and plays shortstop, which is just unheard of. So it's kind of an unnatural position for him, really. But I still think he does decent enough there. What the Pirates need to really rely on from him, though, is his bat. And again, it's a little spotty. However, if you watch his swing, it's just absolutely incredible because there are some times where he just can like flick his wrist and somehow it's like the hardest hit you've ever seen in your stinking life. So I think if he can like
It's a lot of fun to watch. He's like one of my
Yes.
favorite guys to watch right now.
Yes,
for sure.
he is really fun, but when he's struggling, he's struggling. So it's how do you kind of navigate that so he doesn't do it as much? And I'm gonna say something crazy, and I'm 5'1", so I don't know how it is to be that stinking tall, right? I'm like, is it hard to adjust to people's strike zones and pitchers whenever you're 6 foot freaking 7? Like maybe I'm just throwing that out there, right? Like I don't know. So but I do think he's
coverage.
Yes, I do think he's a part of the franchise. I think he's one of those bigger names like Brian Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz, Mitch Keller, Paul Skeens, Jared Jones. You lump him in there because you want that group, that core group moving forward, especially if this team can make a playoff push this year.
Well, Suzie, we thank you so much for coming on to Out of the Parks. Really, really appreciate it. Incredible insight. I know the three of us are excited. You're going to be there in person. Phillies Pirates this weekend. Yes. Maybe we'll have to put a little. You and Malloy are going to have to figure out a bet.
Yeah, we got to come
Phillies
up with
and the
some
Pirates.
sort of big bet.
We will.
The atmosphere should be insane.
I'm fired up just to watch. I'm jealous you're going to be there.
Well, not only is this series going to be electric, however, Pickle Fest is also going on. So it's
Pickle Fest.
Yes, it is Yinzer. It's absolutely Yinzer Palooza in Pittsburgh this weekend. And I'm excited about it.
And the Philadelphians are going to come to rig it up, probably. They're going to mess it up somehow.
I hope not.
Oh, man. Well, Suzie, thanks for coming on and being a part of the show.
Yep.
And we'll come up with a bet here. We'll have to throw something together.
You got to do you got to do the stupid Permane Brothers sandwich against a cheesesteak, right? Don't you have to do the sandwich bet?
Gold belly.
Oh, wow.
The loser has to gold belly the
what
other
does that even
one.
Mean?
You got to eat a cheesesteak. You got to get me a Permane Brothers. You got to send me a Permane Brothers if the Phillies sweep the Pirates.
Sheep's mozzarella sticks.
Okay. I'll give you guys.
I was going to say, I like cheesesteak, so I won't have a problem with eating a cheesesteak. That's fine.
Well, that's if you got to win. You got to win. How about this? This is the bet. I think the Phillies are going to sweep the Pirates.
Wow.
Yeah.
Risky.
I think the Pirates are at least.
They're gonna give Paul Skeens his welcome to the MLB moment.
Okay.
That's another one.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So if you guys can win one game, I will send you out a cheesesteak through one of those Gold Belly or something.
He'll put it.
If we sweep you, you got to send me a Permane Brothers. Deal?
Okay. Yes, deal. I can do that.
All right. You got to eat it live.
There we have it. Suzie, again, thank you so much for coming on. We hope to have you on again. Maybe if a little Pirates-Phillies playoff series, we'll bring it on in October.
Yeah.
A little best of 3.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, boy.
All right, now we're risking it for the biscuit.
Yeah.
Risk it for the biscuit.
Suzie, thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
See you,
Suzie.
Suzie.
Go Phillies. Well,
fellas.
Now listen, boys.
Now it's just the boys again. Suzie, thank you so much for coming on. We definitely got to have her back on. That was incredible. But
hang on, Malloy. Hang on, Malloy. You could have just done a series win bet. You didn't have to go sweep.
I know. I didn't like that.
Well, I'm feeling confident. I think
Michael Mercado.
Yeah,
I'm not feeling confident.
You got Nola going. I mean, their lineup is pretty weak. You know, like I've been following him a little bit here and there. Besides Reynolds, and then if Cruz, you get by them too.
You know what though? There's no doubt that the Phillies are a supreme team. But
yeah, thinking about just talking about it with her, he's like, we're so lucky. But go ahead, supreme team.
But coming out of the All-Star break where you had a bunch of All-Stars for the Phillies, and like the series in Pittsburgh, that's a huge home series for the Pirates, right? So you just wonder if it's one of these things where it means more to the home team than it does to the Phillies. And like, listen, we'll see. And it was a fun All-Star game. I know we'll talk about that. It's always great when your players are playing and they're getting hits in the All-Star game. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm so glad the Pirates have some players that are worth watching again. Good series.
It's the All-Star game itself was really a good watch last night.
Sure was.
Yeah, it was great. So let's get into it. Last night, the American League beat the National League 5-3. It was the 12th time in the last 13 years the American League beat the National League. The only time the National League won last year, closed out by Craig Kimbrell, coached by Rob Thompson. So how about that?
Yippee.
Little Philadelphia action there.
Yippee.
But like you mentioned, John, 6 Phillies were in the All-Star game, including 3 position players. All 3 got a hit. It was only the second time since 1978 that 3 Philadelphia Phillies have gotten a hit in the All-Star game. Sanchez, Strahm, and Hoffman all came in as well and pitched. So what'd you guys think of the game? And the Phillies were well represented, 6 players.
Yeah, I mean, it started with Bohm in the home run derby, and damn, he came so close with that in that semifinal round where you thought it was a home run. It's like, damn, he needed to get that home run.
Just foul.
Just missed it, but man, he came out launching. So, overall, it was awesome. It is, because I can remember growing up, and I'm sure you guys remember during some of the thin years where you have Pat Neshek as your only representative, or you have a guy you don't even like the player and he's your only All-Star. Meanwhile, they tie an NL record for eight players, and the guys come in and they get hits, and the Phillies were well represented. So all in all, especially down the shore, watching we have a bunch of young kids down here, so we're watching the game, we're watching the home run derby. Everybody was loving it, so it was great. It was awesome. It was. I don't know if I enjoy the All-Star game as much when Phillies players aren't playing, but it was a really, really good game last night. And I'm proud of our players.
It definitely isn't as enjoyable when you don't have a ton of your own squad. But man, like it's one of those things. It's like you're always trying to get that same feeling of when you watched your first like All-Star game or that one All-Star game. You're like chasing a high. That's why you come back to watch it every year. It's the little thing is like the lack of offense. It seemed like in decades ago, the All-Star game would be great. It'd be like 13-11. The pitchers would get absolutely lit up. Now it's almost like
not anymore.
Not anymore at all. These guys are only going out there throwing one inning, and they're all throwing 100 miles an hour with filthy stuff. The hitting is it's at a premium in that All-Star game.
Yeah, I felt pride watching the All-Star game being a Philadelphia Phillies fan. 3 position players. Yeah, I really did. 3 position players, 3 pitchers. All of them got in. All of them did well. And the Phillies were the story of the first half of the Major League Baseball season. And they deserve to be on the national network. Have the Fox guys interview Bryce Harper before the game. MLB Network doing all the red carpet stuff with Harper wearing his cowboy hat and just being the face of baseball. So I thought it was really cool to watch them and
one of the things that they should have done, I love the water thing they did with Bohm. Loved Bohm's performance in the home run derby. Very proud of that. I wish that Bryce Harper, when he came out to give the little kid the cowboy hat, when they all the guys did, he should have had an Eagles hat and like tossed the cowboy hat into the stands and gave the little kid a Bird's hat and had been like, Dallas sucks. Now that would have been lit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like if this was a Kelsey event, that would have happened because you're very close to the Kelsey camp and Jason Kelsey. So we need to get Bryce Harper and I consider us. I consider to be friends with Bryce Harper. So we got to get in with the Harper. He needs to start doing events or things like that. So you can get Maniac Malloy in his Phillies overalls with no shirt underneath and.
Don't give him ideas, John.
Come on.
Don't give him ideas.
Yeah, we do. We got to start getting interesting with that bet now, too. Speaking of bets, we got bets with Suzie Cool. maybe next week we're going to have to come up with the overall shorts bet of some sort.
Something.
Maybe we don't hit our money line parlay next week, guarantee to the people. We'll give them something to look at if we lose that bet. That's a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what a first half it was for the Phillies. The Phillies are currently 62-34. They have a franchise record 62 wins before the All-Star break. They have an MLB best starting rotation at 3.22. The bullpen ranked third before Garrett Stubbs came into that game on Sunday. We don't have to talk about that, but they were third. It's really just
that was a good stat that you came up with there. I saw you dig deep for that one. They actually
because Garrett Stubbs is going to rig it.
But yeah, they had the third best bullpen ERA. I mean, that's impressive. That's huge. And then the numbers got inflated because of Stubbs coming into that game, which meant nothing.
Right.
But their offense has been incredible too. So my question to you guys is, what has been the most impressive part in this first half? Bullpen, starting pitching, or the offense? What do you guys think, John?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the starting pitching, just because Wheeler's giving you what you've expected Wheeler to give you, right? He was the Cy Young favorite, or one of the Cy Young favorites. He's pitched just like that. Noah's been as solid, right? Like Noah's good. Noah's good. He's not giving you a Cy Young type year, but he's been very good. But you look at Ranger, and I know that he's been leaking oil a little bit late, and I'm not going to tell you there's not concern there, because there's a little bit of concern. But he's been fantastic. And Chris Sanchez made an all-star team.
Unbelievable.
For crying out loud. He pitched 2/3 of an inning last night. 2/3 perfect inning last night.
Yeah.
Chris Sanchez. So you look at the starting rotation, and we used to make a big deal about the 5 aces, even though it was 4.
Right.
Man, this starting rotation has been as good as those 5 aces. And can they keep doing it? Man, if they can, this team's going to win 105, 110 games. So for me, it's the starting pitching. And namely, like, Chris Sanchez has been one of the biggest surprises in Major League Baseball with what he's done in this first half. And unlike Ranger Suarez, who I love Ranger, but his stuff is his stuff, right? Like, he wins by command and knowing how to pitch. Chris Sanchez has legit stuff. He's got legit velocity. He's got legit stuff. That changeup is unbelievable. So for me, it's starting pitching, and for me, it's Chris Sanchez. What a great first half.
I have to echo what you said, that is more than likely the most impressive thing. Honestly, I'm impressed with Trey Turner. When he's in the lineup, when he's swinging it, man, this offense goes no bumps in the road when he's on. I'm impressed with him. I think same thing we were saying when those guys went out. He still needs to put this team on his back just a little bit and really continue to stay hot. I'm impressed with him along with the starting pitching. Another guy that really just, if you would want to use the word impress, Edmundo Sosa impressed me in his spots. He seems to lost a little bit of momentum, recently, kind of similar to, what we're having happen with Ranger Suarez. But, I'm impressed with the guys at large stepping up with that next man mentality. It's one thing to be able to just say it, it's the next guy up. But to back it up
to do it
and to be doing it, your team is deep. Your pitching is very good. Overall, there's a lot of things to be impressed with this team. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys on the starting pitching, but I got to shout out the bullpen. I think they have been
Gregory Soto.
Well, yeah, Soto's been better in the last
all right recently, yes. His ERA's below 4, Feldman.
Yeah, he's been much better. But honestly, Matt Strahm and Jeff Hoffman, I went into the season thinking Jose Alvarado, even Sir Anthony. I actually trusted Kerkring coming into the year. But what Matt Strahm and Jeff Hoffman have done, we've repeated the Jeff Hoffman story, came up for Harper to throw to him in batting practice. Harper had him come to the team, and he's now been here ever since and is due for an extension. But Jeff Hoffman with a 1.12 ERA and Matt Strahm with a 1.49 ERA, both deserved All-Stars. And they've been 2 of our 3 best pitchers along with Alvarado. So shout out to the bullpen. I think they really deserve a huge congratulations for where the Phillies have been so far and have done a great job. So I just wanted to shout out the bullpen a little bit. Now, not to be a little negative Nancy, but I just wanted to...
Negative Nancy!
Just wanted to toss this out to you guys and see what you thought. Bryson Stott, since May 19th, out of 21 qualified second basemen, he is 20th with the batting average of 205. and he's last in OPS out of the 21 second basemen. So the question is, are you guys concerned? The offense has been okay without it, but don't we need him in the second half?
Now, technically, what season number is this for Stott? Like
3,
but in his first year, he only played a handful of games.
Yeah,
right?
I'm starting where he started in 2020.
Like I want to talk about like a full 160.
This is third.
This is his third season. It seems like, you know, with these young hitters, they figure guys out in that second sophomore year. This is kind of around that time. If I don't know how many games did he play in that first season.
I'll look it up.
My point is like, I said it a week ago.
Said it last week.
You know, you get committed to these guys, and that's why I was kind of tepid and timid and really being a Bryson Stott guy off the rip. I know that sounds, you know, like bogus, but it is when you turn over the keys to a young player with that starting spot in the major leagues, you're putting so much pressure on him, and it's like you got to see it through. Like you got to see it through this rough patch. You've seen what he's done in the playoffs. He can do it. I don't believe the guy's a flash in the pan. Am I concerned? Absolutely, especially when you have Edmundo Sosa sitting on the bench, possibly. You know, when you have other guys, and they made the move now. They've released Whit Merrifield. They're going to do something. You know, is that right-handed bat? Maybe not an outfielder. Maybe he's another infielder. I don't know. I think you can't let it rely on him being an automatic out in the playoffs if he's struggling. You know, you got to do something now at the trade deadline, possibly, to address Stott if he doesn't get his act together a little bit. I mean, you can't let it come down to him.
So his first year, he had 427 at bats.
So that's a lot.
Yeah.
Batted 234, which is fine for his rookie year, right? And last year, and I think that's what makes this year disappointing, guys, because he batted 280 last year with 15 home runs. And he's never going to be a high walk guy. He sees pitches, but he's never going to be a high walk guy. So the on-base percentage isn't high, and he's hitting further down in the lineup, so it's less of a concern there. But you're supposed to build on batting 280 with 15 home runs when you're 26 years old. This year is supposed to be, even if the average stays the same, all right, drive in more runs. Maybe hit some more home runs. And what you're seeing in the first half was, frankly, a disappointing first half from Stott.
Yeah.
And I think that his play is better than his stats indicate, but that's not letting him off the hook. He's got to play better. Bottom line, imagine what this lineup's like if Turner's hitting, if Real Muto's hitting, if everybody's hitting, and then you have Stott batting seventh further down in the lineup. So I'm not letting him off the hook at all. Feldman, here's what I'm going to say about Stott.
Okay.
Is that I expect a much better second half out of Bryson Stott. And I don't think at the end, he's hitting 238 right now with 6 home runs and 40. He actually has 42 RBIs, so he's driving in more runs this year. I expect when we talk in September, we're talking about Stott hitting 260, maybe hitting 270 with 15, 16 home runs. He's got to step it up. This is a team with not only World Series aspirations. At this point, if they don't win the World Series, it will be a disappointment. The best team in baseball heading out of the All-Star break, so you got to win it. You need more from Stott. That's the bottom line.
You need more from him, and a big reason is because he takes out that ability to put Johan Rojas in the lineup if he's not hitting. You know, because
you're not platooning him.
And you can't platoon him, and he needs to be there for the other guys. Like if you have Castellanos in a rut again, you know, say he goes cold at the wrong time, and you got Johan Rojas, who's you're not going to really be expecting a ton out of that guy. You know, there's a lot of pressure on Stott to take off, you know, the pressure from those guys. If they're struggling, Nick Castellanos' job is going to be to go up there and try to hit home runs. Stott's got to get on base, and that's it. He's got to figure it out.
Yeah, the pressure is on Stott. It's like you said, he's 26 now. Like the daycare story's cute. It's fun. Him, Bowman, Marsh, but he's got to produce. He's got to be. He's a veteran on this team now. It's your third year. You've been to a World Series. You've been through an NLCS, other playoff run. So I agree with you, John. Though I'm expecting a big
Turner
second half, and I think that he's going to do it. So we have faith in you, Stott. We got
now.
you.
Before we change gears to this next part of the show, go ahead, Marks.
No, I just want to say this. You brought up the daycare.
Yeah.
And it's a great point. Bohm just starting in an All-Star game. Marsh was on. He was almost in the All-Star game, right?
Yeah.
Like at least
Yeah.
he's taken that next step. And I know he's struggling against left-handed pitching. Stock can't go the other way. If these other daycare members are going this way, Stock can't go the other way. So yeah, I don't want to hear about the daycare anymore. These are freaking pros. He's 26 years old. Let's go. I want a World Series.
Now, you're talking about a World Series.
Now!
The first half, it's in the books. Phillies are currently plus 475 on Parx to win the World Series. Mark C. Are you taking it?
Book it.
Book it.
Book it.
Mark?
Book it part 2, baby. We're winning it.
We're winning it this year. Phillies plus 475. I love the odds. I love the
good.
odds. Best team in baseball.
There's
They've
freckles
been
on
there
it.
before. Also, currently to win the NL pennant, plus 200. Obviously, if you like them to win the World Series, you got to like them to win the NL pennant. I think coming out of this show, I got 3 bets. Phillies to win the World Series. Phillies to win the NL pennant. Paul Skeens to win the NL Cy Young. That's my bet.
I agree with you.
That's what I'm coming away from as we head into this second half. What do you got, Mark?
I like it. Just quickly, a standings update. The Phillies are currently 6.5 games up on the Dodgers for first place in National League. They're 3.5 games up on the Guardians in the entire MLB, and they're 8.5 games up on the Braves in the NL. So briefly, just wanted to ask you guys, John and Pat, is it important? Does it matter that the Phillies get the best record in baseball and have home field advantage throughout?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've seen what happened the last couple of years, and it didn't matter the last couple of years. If they were not to have the best record in baseball, or if they were not to have the best record in the National League, that would mean the second half of their season was crap. And that's not what you need. Now, ultimately, could they still win the World Series? Yeah, of course they could. I want this team to continue to play at the highest level in baseball. They've done it all year. Let's continue to do it. And anything else is unacceptable. Let's go. This is a good team.
One thing I'd like to see is in that time frame somewhere in August, September, I want to see them go on some sort of a run.
A 9
where,
out of 10.
where they win 9
12.
out of 10. They win 12 out of 13. You know, there's always that thing about catching fire right at the right time. And, you know, we were kind of talking about it not as so serious as possible, but like you run into somehow the Pirates in a 3-game series, you know, and you got to face Skeens. You got to face Chris Sale, maybe. You know, you got to face Tyler Glass now. That you got to be hot at the right moment.
Yep.
Off your point, I was looking this up last night too, Mr. Statman over here. But the first 7 series the teams the Phillies face out of the All-Star break, winning percentage of .535. So this is a tough stretch. It includes the Dodgers and the Mariners on a West Coast trip, the Guardians, Yankees in a homestand. So it's going to be tough. So if they can go on that run,
and Yankees at home is going to be wild.
Yeah, that's coming up in a couple weeks. So I'm curious to see, do they come out of the second half just like the first half and rolling? And I think it's going to be a good test. You still hear the whispers, oh, they've had an easy schedule. Oh, it's been a little light work, but you're going to get their test right out of the chute here, starting with the Pirates Twins.
Yep.
It could be a good time.
It's also how you're built for the playoffs, right? So teams that win in the playoffs, last year, the offense went cold. We know that. It was terrible. The bullpen also was falling apart. They couldn't close games. So once your starter was out of the game, you were like, how the hell are we getting through 9 innings? This year, I feel like, especially with Dombrowski, he's going to add another reliever. They're pretty deep as long as everybody stays healthy. I love Hoffman at the back end of that bullpen, not needing to rely on Alvarado. Let's get another late inning reliever that you can put in there. Your boy Soto.
You don't need a late inning reliever, John. You have Gregory Soto.
Well, then I love Soto, but I love him coming in the 6th inning when you need a lefty.
Yeah, there it is.
Use up Alvarado, all right?
That's the problem. He needs to be in higher leverage spots.
No, he does. You said that earlier.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. I'm with you. I could take another arm. I think the team's built to win in the playoffs with their starters and their bullpen. They absolutely are.
I would still love an outfielder as well. If they want to go all in for a Luis Robert Jr., I would take that.
No, I don't want him. You got Brandon Marsh out there to play center field.
Put Marsh in left.
If they could get anybody, it would be Mason Miller.
He did fly in the airplane with the Phillies guys to the All-Star break, so hopefully All-Star game. So maybe Harper was buttering him up, telling him about Philly. So hopefully we'll check that out. Briefly, Sam does this every week, so we mentioned the Cy Young a little bit, but the Cy Young watch updated as of this morning. Zach Wheeler still the favorite in the NL at plus 120. In second place, Chris Sale at plus 135. Pat's boy, Paul Skeens at plus 500. And a guy who pitched very terribly last night in the All-Star game.
Logan Webb.
I don't know what was going on with LW, as I call him. Logan Webb, plus 2,000 on the NL Cy Young. John, we heard Pat. He won Skeens. Who of those four or someone else do you think is going to win NL Cy Young as of today?
It just feels like Skeens, to jump on the bandwagon here, it feels like Skeens is going to continue to cruise, and this is going to be the story of the season in the National League. I think Zach Wheeler is going to do very well, but he's kind of like, he hasn't been great. He's been very good, but the reason why him and Sale are at the top of the Cy Young right now is they're just consistent and they're good, and they're never going to get blown up. And they're, for the most part, when they go out, they're going to give you at least 6 or 7 solid innings. Skeens can take this award, and the way he's pitching, it feels like he's going to do it. So I think Skeens is the best value right now. Jump on it right now while it's still where it is.
I mean, the one we can't not mention it. It's not on the list here in the rundown, but Ranger Suarez is at plus 2,500. This is a guy that,
if you can turn it around,
a month and a half ago, we would have all been running to the windows to bet on Ranger at plus 2,500. He could get it back. So if you want to take a flyer there, but I think it is Skeensy's to run away with. He's just so dominant, throws the ball so hard, filthy stuff. You could tell some of those guys facing him for the first time last night, and that's what you're going to see for the rest of the season from a lot of these guys. That's a huge advantage that he has. Nobody's seen this guy. And a lot of this stuff that he's throwing is otherworldly stuff. So you haven't faced him before, and he's got the stuff. Mm-hmm. This could be a cakewalk, and you're only going to see his odds go down and down. I'm actually surprised it wasn't on there earlier. Like, he wasn't really even on our watch up into the All-Star game. So Bryson Stott
and Paul Skeens.
Bryson Stott and Paul Skeens are MVPs of the second half.
All right. Well, I like that pick by both you guys. Like you said, it's good value. Before we get to Out of the Parks with John Marks and he makes his prediction for the Pirates, Pat Malloy, I don't know why I just called you Pat, Maniac Malloy, tell him what to do.
You got to like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. If you've watched this long, you definitely have to like and subscribe to this show because it means you like it a lot. So like it, subscribe to it. John Mark's YouTube channel, Bet Parx YouTube channel. Follow Mark Feldman on Instagram. He needs all the followers.
I could use it, Mark_Feldman99. But follow at Bet Parx and follow us for Out of the Parks. John, this weekend, Phillies Pirates. We talked about it with Suzie. Battle the Keystone State, Battle of Pennsylvania. Who is hitting a home run? Maybe they'll hit into the Allegheny River this weekend.
Yeah, so this has been 3 straight weeks that I have said a player that immediately
it's uncanny
home runs. It is. I say it. I'm like, well,
tomorrow, though.
Normally right away they hit home runs. I don't know about this weekend. So who did I say? Was it Schwarber last week?
Yeah, Schwarber.
He hit one on Thursday.
And I think, didn't he hit one that night too? The Wednesday night in that series.
Yes,
he did.
So he had back-to-back nights. Didn't hit one for you on the weekend though. Or
so
did he?
I'm gonna double down with Schwarber. He was not at the All-Star game. He was not in the festivities. He's rested up. The All-Star participants, Bryce, Turner, half the Phillies roster was at the All-Star game. So look for Schwarber to say, "Hey, I didn't get any shine over the last couple games. Let me sit on this first ball fastball to open a game, bam, and go deep." So I think Schwarber to lead off a game is going deep.
Wow, to lead off a
on
game.
Friday.
So that's one we got to monitor throughout the weekend. We should be locking that in, live betting on him to lead off the game with a home run.
Yeah,
I like that. We should try to even talk to the fellas and see if we can boost the odds on him every game.
All right, we'll have to talk to him.
We'll see. That'll give us some work to do this after.
Who do you got? You going to pick a Pirate?
If I had to take a Pirate, I would take O'Neal Cruz. He's another one. Didn't make it to the All-Star game. He's got to be good and pissed off. He's probably thinks he should be there. He's seeing his counterpart, Ellie De La Cruz, guy in his division, running around, talking, everybody talking about him. Look out for O'Neal Cruz to maybe sitting on one.
Noel's also pitching this weekend, so he's good for a home run or two.
There you go. There you go. O'Neal Cruz is my pick for the Out of the Parks with John Marks. It's a great show, fellas.
I like it. I'll go with Bohm real quickly. I think Bohm. He hit the home run derby. He's in a home run feel. So I'm going to go with Alec Bohm.
I like we didn't really talk too much about him in the home run derby. Very proud of him.
You mentioned it.
We talked about like him coming out of this. Is it going to affect his swing? Like I kind of went with a positive outlook of maybe this is going to actually increase his power. He really got to work on this. Obviously, it's helping out his star power, and his career. He should be feeling himself.
Yeah.
And the only problem with that bet is that left center out there in PNC Park is a little
maybe Oppo Taco to right.
So maybe Oppo. Also, they have the high fence in like right center, and that's kind of deep right center.
He's not really a go the other way guy.
Yeah, that's for base hits, not home.
I'm gonna prove you wrong. Boom.
I like Bohm to pull one inside the foul pole, the shorter part of that fence with the not so high fence there. There's his only shot. He's gonna have to pull one, and that's what he was doing a lot of in the Derby. Could be an easy one there.
All right, so we'll see.
And 3 bets out there now.
We have a lot of bets out there. For the people wondering, no Marks in the Maniac money line this week. Obviously, due to the All-Star break, they'll give you guys their new pick next Wednesday when we have our new episode.
And that's going to be another one with what are they called? The overall shorts on the line. We're going to have to we'll have to figure something out with that. How about that'll be what it'll be, John? It'll be me and you. We each need to make a leg like we always do. You pick a team, I pick a team. If we both win, good. If one of us loses the leg,
I like this.
They have to. So if your leg fails and my leg hits, you got to do it.
And I don't have overall, so I would have to be totally nude doing the show. I guess.
Oh, it's almost noon somewhere.
He's drinking down the shore. It's Johnny Marks live from Ocean City.
Well, I think that means it's a good time to wrap it up.
Enjoy yourself down there, John. We'll see you next week.
And a big shout out to Suzie Cool. Thanks for coming on the show again. Really appreciate it. John Malloy, thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed this.
Stepped up.
Good
next
job,
man
brother.
mentality.
This was a blast.
Just like the Phillies.
So there you have it, folks. We'll be back next week with episode 17 of Out of the Parks. For Suzie Cool, for John Marks, for Maniac Malloy, I'm Mark Feldman. This has been episode 16 of Out of the Parks, presented by Bet Parx.